Here is a long look through my box set of the Drow campaign, Menzoberranzan. Here we go. There's going to be some funny stuff in here, but that's okay. Rolling up a Drow character. Lots of steps. Here's some artwork. Not mine. Came with the box set. And yes, I do draw. This must be a quick adventure I wrote called The Way Home. Some encounter things here. Here's one of the first maps of the caverns of the city of Menzoberranzan. This is a small image, and it goes over all the different areas. Of course, it's after R.A. Salvatore's books. And I think this is just one side of it. There's actually two big maps. Yeah, this is the north part of it, I think. And you've got numbered areas, you've got caves leading out. Of course, they'd be guarded by gigantic spiders and Drow troops. This is going to be interesting. These tier branch, whatever you want to call it, this is the school for the clerics. And it also has the School of Wizardry, Sorcerer, and the Fighting Academy, Melee Math Gear. Of course, I'm probably not saying that right. The bazaar's down here, and in between these, you've got all sorts of houses, noble houses, whether they're on the ceiling or on the floor. Let me pause. All right, here's a table that I came up with, and this is mostly for things that might happen in the Underdark, or could be in any game system. Basically, it tells me where to look for treasure. Right here, old DMG, all the way up to some new magic item that I have to write myself. And I'm pretty good at that. What was this? This was the area of the Underdark. I'm not sure. It's been so long. Tome of Dark Places. Okay. Again, some of this stuff, just some notes. This was a DM sheet. It's a quick reference sheet for the DM that tells me the hit points, armor class, there are other armor classes if they're rear, surprise, traits and abilities. We did use some traits while we were running this, but all the monsters that they had to fight were difficult. The traits weren't really that helpful when it came to saving the characters. Drows have a tough life to live. This is one of the books that comes with the box set. And if you really love the work of Greenwood, R.A. Salvatore, or even the earlier works written by Gary Gygax, do not hesitate to buy this. Even if you have to pay a couple $100, say for a copy, or $400 or $500 for a shrunk wrap copy, well worth it. This is one of the best things I feel that was ever produced that's not a Gary Gygax item. What is this? Wizard School. All right. It probably has to do with the kids growing up there. I'm not sure how I did that. Oh, here we go. A little bit of talk about the fairs rests It was magic radiation spots that the Drow would bring their items to radiation or their form of magic on their items. It was a cheaper, less expensive way, say, of getting their wizards to, what is this? This is nothing. Don't worry, we're getting to more. I talked about formations that the Drow used when in the Underdark. All right, now this is interesting. When rolling up where the players are in the family, once we just figured out where they were, we couldn't just start the game. You had to figure out what they got. So maybe a week or so later, I would say, okay, Jay rolled 35. He wasn't a noble. Magic items given to you by Baltana, the second high priestess. And he got Drow chainmail, a short sword +1, and he ended up getting a cloak. And I have another table that says the chances of getting these items depending on where you were in the whole system of things. In other words, this guy's low down the ladder, and he still made out pretty good. So, not great. You know, he got chainmail and a short sword, and he got the cloak. But, yeah, what does this else say? If a mage exchanged the chainmail for a ring of magic resistance, if desired, exchange the short sword for a dagger or quarterstaff +1. If wished, if a priestess, then exchange the sword for a hammer or a mace. I see. And then it shows you a starting gold, which seems like a lot, but when you consider the quality or the narrowness of the items that can be purchased, not to mention you don't know anybody that's going to sell poison or anything like that to you yet. And everybody that you meet in the entire world of the Underdark could be out to steal your goods. So there were a couple times when they themselves were jumped or murdered. If they went somewhere by themselves, I told them, use the buddies, use the buddy system. And, okay, so we got Phil, he got a reroll, and he rolled a 93. So he was a high noble, and he got a bunch of stuff by Matron Mother because that was who birthed him. Drow boots, +2 Drow chainmail, Drow weapon, your choice, that can cause 10 points of damage once per day. Instead of rolling, you receive a family crest charm. The charm activates. When activated, gives you water breathing or feather fall once a day. If a wizard, then bracers of defense AC 2 instead of Drow chainmail, as well as 2 darts of blinding. If a cleric, then lesser tentacle rod, yellow, and starting gold, 550. Let's see, Chris had 03. He was a slave. You have stolen a +1 hand crossbow from a sleeping guard some time ago. He was so embarrassed that he never reported it stolen. Zigrig is his name, so anytime he wants to beat up on this guy, you know, make fun of him, hey, where's your crossbow or whatever, the guy'd be like, shh, quiet. Saving and hiding coins, you have been able to hide 33 gold, 64 electrum, and 30 silver, as well as a set of leather armor of your race, unless non-humanoid or monster. And other starting money, bupkis, zilch, nada. Let's see. Andy rolled a 71. He was a noble. Magic items, and so on and so forth. Each player got to roll up 2 characters each. And in this campaign, I think I had 4 players at the time. There may have been more a little bit later on. There's some like stuff I printed out a long time ago, and they ended up here. Just yes and no type questions on some of the spells. There might be a Drow thing in there. Basically, I gave an envelope to each player with instructions on how to use magic items that they had for their character. Lost and Found. What is this? Oh, this is something funny that was in one of the Dragon magazines. This says, "Dear editor, a few days ago I took my dog out for a walk in the woods. He ran off after a squirrel, and when he came back, he was carrying a large bone. At least I thought it was a bone. When I first looked at it, then I looked closer. It's a long, thin piece of black rock with a skull on the end. And engraved on the handle are the words, 'Property of Orcus.' I looked in the phone book, but nobody with that name lives around here, so I'm asking for your help. If Mr. Orcus or anyone who knows of his whereabouts sees this letter, I hope they will get in touch with me. I would like to see that this object, obviously a keepsake of some sort, returned to its rightful owner. Besides, having it around is really giving me the creeps. Tom Turkey, Critical Mass." Let's see. I don't know. There's something here. Oh, sorry. Am I running out of battery? I think I'm running out of battery. Where are we? 27. All right. What's this? There's another booklet that came with it. It's called The Adventure. All right. Look at this. Some sort of a battle maze. That might be for, what is this? Battle Maze 1. You can tell I did not use this, whatever it was. This might have been what they wanted you to use for the graduates of Mealy Math Gear. Usually the poor bastards that came in last got turned into driders. Failure to their family. But I made my own. This is a table I made on Drow Surprise. Let's see. We had a huge combat where a family did attack Tuantar, our family, or I should say the player's family, and it was the matron mother's speech on their troops to defend their household. And the players were actually really good. They defeated the enemy, although a wall came down. Let's see. This was a library, something important for the wizards. 5 keys to DMing success. Must have read that during this whole complicated process. These are all from Dragon Magazine, these printed pages here. Oh, look at that. I've got Yellow Dragon, whatever. Rearranging and redefining the mighty dragon. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. They're around somewhere. I had those issues like 1 through 255 on CD. They came out with this box set years ago. I don't know what this would be doing in here. It's not easy being good. It's a article written for anybody that wants to play paladins and good characters. My players would call them goody characters. How did all this end up in here? What? All right, we're getting back to the Drow here. Let's see, hold on. Was this a Drow question? Is that why I put this in here? Okay, this one asks, question, may a character cast a spell reading it aloud from his spell book? Answer, absolutely not. The spell books do not, yada, yada, yada. I say that's a load of rubbish only because there are some spells that are just vocal. If you cast a spell from your book that's just vocal, don't see why you couldn't do that. Yeah, there's a bunch of... All right, here we go. We're back to the Drow. All right, so this is something I came up with because of these darn cloaks. Everybody had them. It was always funny for us trying to figure out how the players were after either rounds of combat, and I had to put like a chit or a stone or something next to them. So hidden or unhidden. Okay. Normal movement or half movement, stalking, any drow wearing a pavwafi, hood up and fully covered, and weapons sheathed is hidden. Only daggers, wands, and a few other weapons that are short that can be concealed are not sufficient to give one's position away to an enemy. Other weapons are too dangerous to hide and may accidentally ruin one's cloak. And wouldn't make your mother be upset if you did that. The second one is with weapon drawn. You are unhidden, but still gain maximum surprise bonuses from enemies that can't hear, smell, sense your presence. If still and quiet or awaiting ambush, you will be considered hidden. Jogging makes your pifwafi rustle about enough to make yourself unhidden. There are a few drow who move with such grace as to remain hidden, but this would be a trait-like ability. Let's see. Running is even worse. You are unhidden while running. Even invisible creatures have a hard time remaining unseen because of the noise they make running. Casting spells with magical components and somatic gestures makes one unhidden. Only those spells that are purely vocal do not negate an unhidden status. All right. Charging makes one unhidden. If you lose initiative, then your enemy can decide to move away after you reach him, making your charge futile. Better to charge only when you have surprise or an enemy cannot escape you. This seems self-explanatory, but some monsters can sense you in other ways. Sleeping Drow. Sleeping Drow can remain hidden, but this is usually due to luck, as even Drow move in their sleep. It is called reverie, but they still need 8 hours of it. Dead Drow have been found long after they have died in nooks or depressions by sheer chance. If the pifwafi is one good piece, the pifwafi is one good piece of equipment to have. Chance of being seen during sleep is an even 50% chance. And I think that's fair. Okay, let's see. This was something I did on magic resistance. I'm trying to figure out if there are 3 types of magic resistance in D&D. I'll go through that at some point. Maybe some of you know them or not. And one of them only applies to a single monster in the Fiend Folio. There's regular magic resistance, and then there's one where no matter the level of the character, the magic resistance stays the same number or the same chance. And then there's other things. Okay, here's an old punk thing that I found. Anybody like Tang Records back in the day? I don't think they're around anymore. Look at that. Look at all the shirts. That's how punks made money. They sure weren't making them off their fucking CDs. Sorry about my language there. Look at that. There was a band called Sloppy Seconds. Oh boy. The name of the album was called Lonely Christmas. Okay. This is the stuff you kind of got in every box set. RPGA stuff. And yet another book. Book 1, The City. So this describes everything the Dungeon Master needs to know about running the city of Menzoberranzan. There's actually an old picture in there I like with Loth in it. So, in other words, there was calling back to the old days. Lots of good stuff. And here's the other map. Holy, maybe there were 4 pieces of map. I think I only used 2 out of the 4. The other ones I kept away. So probably the northern. Let's see, House Duarden retrospective, and this is by probably R.A. Salvatore. After all, who would know more than him? No idea who wrote this. Okay, yeah, they go through all the characters that were in the novels, that sort of thing. They're not giving you statistics. We don't need to know about Drizzt. This is good. This has, there's another piece of map in there. This has the names and symbols for, I believe, all the houses in it. Here, let me put it on pause. So we've got a bunch of different houses with their house symbols on here. What is that? House Duskrin. There's the main house right there, House Bangra. I gotta go, I'm sorry.